Hello everyone, Irish Warlock here, and like a lot of people, I've had Dragon Age Dreadwolf on the brain for quite a while now, and that's because we should be getting news on Dragon Age Dreadwolf very soon. Thank God. Last December on Dragon Age Day, we were treated to a nice little teaser for the upcoming Dragon Age Dreadwolf, with confirmation that we would get some solid news and reveals in the summer of 2024. Well, summer 2024 is literally just around the corner and the Summer Game Fest is about to start, so it's only a matter of time before we get all the info we've been waiting a long time for, and boy has it been a long time. Dragon Age Dreadwolf has had a hell of a development cycle, and I thought with that cycle being such an interesting story, it was worth recapping before we see the fruits of all that hard work. Now, this isn't everything related to Dreadwolf's development, that would be way too detailed and take way too long. Instead, this is just a somewhat simple overview. Dreadwolf's development started all the way back in 2015, around the time of the release of Dragon Age Inquisition's Trespasser DLC. Dragon Age Dreadwolf entered pre-production under the codename Joplin and was led by creative director Mike Laidlaw. While this was going on, however, many of the development team were temporarily reassigned to work on Mass Effect Andromeda and Anthem. This included lead writer David Gator, who was replaced with Dragon Age veteran Patrick Weeks. According to reports from inside Bioware, at this point it seemed that everything was going well for Project Joplin, due to the team being more experienced with EA's Frostbite engine, which had been the engine for Dragon Age Inquisition, and was being used to make Mass Effect Andromeda and Anthem. At this time, it seems that the story of Joplin was to be focused around committing a series of heists across the northern nation of the Vinter, with an emphasis put on player choice and how those choices are perceived by the player's companions and the world. A learning point from Inquisition was the scaling down of the scope of the game, with smaller areas to explore that also changed as the game progressed. This was a stark contrast to Inquisition's hinterlands, with this choice most likely being a direct response to player feedback regarding the hinterlands, because as we can all remember, the hinterlands is one hell of a slog. It seems that by the end of 2015, Joplin's development team were optimistic about how the game was progressing. Unfortunately, early in 2016 saw the development of the core Dragon Age game face some setbacks. Many of the team were fully moved over to work on Mass Effect Andromeda. This was quickly followed by the resignation of David Gator from Bioware in February while he was working on Anthem. The parting of Gator from Bioware was mainly due to the narrative direction Anthem was taking. Little is known about the rest of Dragon Age's development in 2016, as the next major bit of news didn't arrive until 2017. Following the release of Mass Effect Andromeda in March of 2017, Project Joplin was given the full focus of Bioware. Unfortunately, this is when things went from bad to worse with Anthem. Bioware's ambitious Exosuit multiplayer game faced more hurdles towards the end of the year, and Project Joplin was unfortunately scrapped in October of 2017, but all focus on Anthem. It was around this time that creative director Mike Laidlaw departed from Bioware, leaving the next Dragon Age game in the hands of studio veteran Mark Darrah. Following the cancellation of Joplin, the majority of the Dragon Age team, including Darrah, moved over to work on Anthem, leaving behind a small core team working on the next Dragon Age game, now under the name Project Morrison. Project Morrison was led by Matthew Goldman, who had been the art director for Dragon Age Inquisition. Morrison was being worked on using Anthem's codebase and was selected to have live service features, something that caused panic in the Dragon Age community when it was announced, because nobody wanted a live service Dragon Age game. At the 2018 Game Awards, we finally got our first proper tease for the next Dragon Age game with a simple teaser trailer, but boy did it hype people up. The trailer showed off the red lyrium idol from Dragon Age 2, which was supposedly destroyed in Dragon Age 2, and a mural of an elf facing off against a giant wolf. This trailer was met with excitement, hopes that the game would change back to single player, and plenty of fan theories. At this point, the game had undergone another reboot and was still in early pre-production. Despite this, many of the Dragon Age dev team were confident in Project Morrison. In February 2019, Anthem received a lackluster launch and was met with heavy criticism both by Bioware fans and the general gaming community. Bioware decided to put all of its focus back into Dragon Age, with Mark Darrah leading development and most of the team returning to Dragon Age from Anthem. It was during 2019 that development took some pretty major steps forward, like combat testing, concept art being drawn up, and voice acting was just starting off.
They call me the Dreadwolf. What will they call you when this is over?
It was as 2019 was coming to an end and 2020 was starting to kick off that it felt like serious headway was being made on the development of Project Morrison. Of Of course, this was 2020, so nothing could be that simple. Like many video game developers, the Dragon Age team began remote working due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Despite this, however, the next Dragon Age game had finally left pre-production and the team was starting to grow in numbers. As 2020 progressed, we were treated to a number of teasers and trailers showing off the game and its development. These teasers included in-game clips, concept art, comments from the development team on the game's progress, and us finally meeting the first members of the cast, including Ike Amadi playing Darvin, a Grey Warden,
He dies on my watch. For the Wardens!
and Ji Young Han as Bellara.
No, it's okay. That's the good kind of rumble.
Both of these actors have appeared in previous Bioware games, with Amadi playing Javik in Mass Effect 3 and Han playing Sentinel Dax in Anthem. While these teasers never gave us anything concrete, we were able to learn quite a bit. This included possible locations like Tevinter and Ativa, factions we would interact with including the Antivan Crows and the Grey Wardens, and most excitedly a possible tease of our companions. And of course, it didn't take long for the fans to decide on which one they wanted to romance. And while not directly linked to the development of the game, the novel Dragon Age Tevinter Nights definitely helped the fans engage with the franchise, while creating a whole slew of fan theories of what we might see when the game releases. Tevinter Nights also provided an answer for how the Red Lyrium idol returned and its connection to Solus, something that was further fleshed out in the comics. As 2020 drew to an end, Bioware formally confirmed the existence of the project title as Morrison. This announcement confirmed that the fourth Dragon Age game would take place in Tevinter and would be following on from the events of Trespasser, and that Morrison still contained many of the aspects and ideas from Joplin. Unfortunately, the end of 2020 was also met with some bad news as both Mark Darrah and Casey Hudson announced they were leaving Bioware. Hudson left at the end of the year while Darrah left in early 2021, staying longer to help his replacement Christian Daly get settled in. Like the departure of other senior team members, this caused concern amongst the fanbase, but both Darrah and Hudson were quick to express their confidence in both Morrison and the team. Around the same time Mark Darrah was leaving in early 2021, Bioware made the decision to finally put an end to Anthem, which just a year earlier they had promised to continue work on through Anthem Next. However, the failure of Anthem may have been a win for Dragon Age, as its shortcomings along with the success of single-player games like Star Wars Jedi Survivor and the campaigning from Bioware's leadership caused EA to decide to remove all multiplayer aspects. The fourth Dragon Age game was now fully single-player. As you can imagine, or maybe remember, this was met with quite a bit of positivity from the Dragon Age fans because we were not expecting this change, no matter how much we wanted it. Unfortunately, however, this did cause another reboot, albeit a smaller one, as you can't just turn a multiplayer game into a single-player game with a simple snap of your fingers. The rest of 2021 saw multiple other long-standing developers leave Bioware, with some community members theorising that while Dragon Age Dreadwolf moving to single-player may have been what many developers wanted, the constant changes and reboots may have been the last straw for some people. The biggest of these departures was that of creative director Matthew Goldman in November. The exit was quite sudden and is one that we still know very little about. All of these announcements made 2021 a bit of a rollercoaster for the Dragon Age team. Despite all of these worrying announcements, however, on 2021's Dragon Age Day, Bioware gave a statement to reassure the fans and promised more news in the next year. Despite this statement, however, 2022 was light on news, but there were some interesting announcements. As 2022 progressed, the membership of the Dragon Age development team continued to change, with both old faces leaving and some new ones joining. And despite all of these changes to the team, an article by Jeff Grubb stated that the next Dragon Age game was on schedule for a 2023 release, which we obviously know didn't happen. 2022 saw the promotion of John Epler from narrative director to creative director, replacing Matthew Goldman. Corinne Bush was made game director. Mac Walters, a Bioware veteran of 18 years, was made production director, and Benoit Hull was made director of product development. Despite all these changes to the Dragon Age management team, these new members were met with praise from the former management team, including David Gader, Christian Daly and Mark Darrah, who reassured fans that these changes would mean nothing in the long run on his YouTube channel. Darrah compared the development of the new game to the development of Origins, citing similar issues with management and development. In June, fans finally got some welcome news as the title for the next Dragon Age game was released. It was to be called Dragon Age Dreadwolf. This confirmed that Solus, the Dreadwolf, would be playing a major role in the next game and quickly set the fandom on a theory frenzy. We also got the news that Dreadwolf would at least need another year of development. In October 2022, Dreadwolf hit its biggest milestone to date, that it had entered the alpha phase. This meant that the game was fully playable, just not in a launchable state at the moment. At the end of the year on Dragon Age Day, we got another cinematic teaser trailer, which really didn't give us anything new. What it did do, however, was lay the groundwork for the possible return of everyone's favourite dwarf, Varric, who narrated the trailer. And just to end the year off, we got a hint that Hans Zimmer, or at least his company, Remote Control Productions, would be the composer for Dragon Age Dreadwolf. Remote Control Productions has worked on games like the Metal Gear series, Assassin's Creed 3, and Gears of War 2. All of this now brings us to 2023, which started off with the unfortunate departure of Mac Walters, which was quickly followed by a massive leak in February. This leak was supposedly done by playtesters who stated that it was unlikely Dreadwolf would release in 2023, as previous leaks had suggested, and that key aspects of the game were still being worked on, including some story elements. The leak also went on to say that the game was to include a hub area, with the leakers comparing it to the hub area in Destiny, and saying that this was left over from the now cut multiplayer features. However, this is really nothing to worry about, as most Bioware games have a hub area. Origins has the camp, Inquisition has Skyhold, while the Mass Effect games have both the Normandy and the Tempest. Recruitment of companions was still present, however apparently you will be unable to control them. The leak does say currently unable to control, and I wonder if this feature is usually added later in development. A big surprise was that the combat had shifted to a hack and slash style, with comparisons being drawn to Final Fantasy XV. Shortly after this, another leak followed, through insider gaming from someone who had early access to the game, and a leaked video was also released. In the video we see the player character playing as an Elven Knight class, possibly a subclass of the warrior or a placeholder title, while being accompanied by some Grey Wardens. The gameplay saw a character known as Rook exploring the Grey Warden fortress of Weishaupt, speaking with NPCs including Ike Amadi's Grey Warden Darvin, and fighting Darkspawn infused with Red Lyrium. Along with this we got some more details, including that you're able to generate a special bar to pull off some sort of special move. This seems similar to the special ability that the Mark gave you in Dragon Age Inquisition. Along with this, jumping is still in the game, which I'm surprised that I'm actually happy with. I didn't care too much that it was added in Inquisition, and I enjoyed it well enough, but I'm glad it's making a return. The leakers also bring up that the visual quality of the game has improved drastically, which is great to hear. None of the Bioware games I've played have been particularly ugly, but they're not the prettiest games out there, so it's nice to see that Dreadwolf is going to take a big leap forward. The leakers specifically draw attention to the character's hair, which is good to hear. Hopefully there's actually more variety compared to previous games, because there's never been that much variety, and I hope that like in Baldur's Gate 3 we can add multiple colours to a single person's hair. The video also gave rise to the theory that Rook is our player character, with the name Rook being a title like Warden or Inquisitor. A popular theory among the fandom is that we'll be playing as an agent of the Inquisition, making Rook our codename, which makes a lot of sense. Like the previous leak suggested, the video showed off gameplay to more hack and slash style, with the player being able to parry and counter. This is similar to the combat in the most recent God of War games, which was supposedly a guiding point for the developers. And this is something I have no problem with, because those games are great. The leak also showed that the UI and equipment management would be similar to that of Inquisition, and that origin stories may make a return, something fans have wanted for a long time. Popular theory among fans is that instead of your origin being based on your race, like human noble or dwarven commoner as in Dragon Age Origins, your origin will be based around a different faction, like the Antivan Crows, the Lord of Fortunes, or the Grey Wardens, who Rook in the leaked video was a part of. And my theory is that this leaked gameplay is the Grey Warden origin, since all of the companions were Grey Wardens. I think these Wardens may have been temporary companions similar to the temporary origin characters seen in Origins. Both of these leaks were met with equal parts skepticism, excitement, and some negativity. As the year progressed, Bioware showed off some behind-the-scenes processes that goes into making a game, with a possible look at how the skill tree will work. I personally really like the look of this potential skill tree, as it allows a lot of flexibility and customization for our skills. While I liked a lot of Dragon Age Inquisition, I wasn't crazy about the skill trees. It's kind of better than the one in Origins, which was basically just a bunch of straight lines to work down, but Origins at least had a lot of variety, especially for the mages. Dreadwolf's skill tree seems to offer plenty of options while allowing you to move around from one tree to another, hopefully allowing for a wide variety of customization. However, the most surprising news of 2023 came in March, when it was announced that Mark Darrah was returning to Bioware to work on Dreadwolf. Although Darrah was not brought back as a full employee, but rather as a consultant, something he'd been doing along with YouTube since leaving Bioware. Darrah's return was met with a lot of excitement from the Dragon Age community, but some of us did wonder if his return hinted at bad news for the game. Was he brought back to fix something? Did Bioware or EA feel like he was needed to save the game? An official statement did mention that he was there to ensure that Dreadwolf matches up with the legacy of Dragon Age, but if there's something more, we'll probably never know. In the same announcement, it was revealed that the majority of the Mass Effect team who are currently working on the 5th Mass Effect game have moved over to work on finishing Dreadwolf. This is something that Bioware and a lot of multi-team developers do, having teams whose games are early on in development to help finish off games that are approaching their release. Hopefully though, it means that the next Mass Effect game doesn't suffer the same fate as Joplin. As summer came around, EA announced a lot of layoffs across all their studios, with several Bioware staff unfortunately being let go. This included writer Mary Kirby, who created Varric and a lot of the lore for the Canary, technical director John Renish, and producer Renetta Corrin. As we moved into September and October, we were met with more bad news. In September, Keyword Studios, a studio that specialises in providing QA testers, began terminating the contracts of 13 unionised employees after Bioware decided not to renew the contract they had with the studio. Keyword Studios say that the layoffs were due to the completion of their contract with Bioware, however many people believe it was down to the employees being unionised. I support this theory, as I've always wondered why Keyword Studios didn't have more work lined up for these employees when the contract with Bioware ended. It seems like a long shot that they were just hoping that the contract would get renewed. Following the layoffs, the employees began legal action against Keyword Studios regarding missing severance pay, and the same was happening at Bioware. In October, 7 former Bioware staff members filed a lawsuit stating they had not received fair compensation, brought up the lack of health benefits for staff, and that since Bioware developers were forced to work with the Frostbite engine, EA had limited their chances of finding similar roles in other studios. Despite all of this bad blood with Bioware, these 7 former staff still expressed hope that the fans would enjoy Dragon Age Dreadwolf. When November came around, we got the next hint of when Dreadwolf would release. One of EA's cinematic animators listed they had worked on Dreadwolf on his LinkedIn page, and had listed that the game was scheduled for a release in 2024. Now we come to the last bit of news for the year, Dragon Age Day 2023. Once again we got another teaser trailer, Thedas Calls. Despite only being 49 seconds long, we got a pretty good idea of what to expect from Dreadwolf. Locations like Antiva, Ravane and the Anderfelds will appear in the game, while we got a confirmation that the Grey Wardens and Antivan Crows will play a part in some way. We got some great voiceovers from some characters we will see, some of whom may have been seen in previous Dragon Age media, and a great monologue from someone who could only be our antagonist.
All the world will soon share the peace and comfort of my reign.
The most exciting bit of news came at the end of the trailer, when it was confirmed that we will get a full proper reveal in summer 2024. Unfortunately, this news was slightly lost to the wider gaming community, as barely a few hours later the first teaser trailer for GTA 6 dropped. Which definitely wasn't deliberate, and we definitely shouldn't take it that Rockstar is going to war with Bioware. And now it's 2024. Unfortunately, like previous years, EA began to lay off multiple developers across all of their studios, which included Bioware. Dreadwolf also had several leaks, with one from Jeff Grubb indicating that both EA and Bioware were expecting Dragon Age Dreadwolf to release this year, while another from actor Damon Gerard may have revealed multiple characters he voices in Dreadwolf. And that brings us to now, the first week of June 2024 and the start of the summer. So we will be seeing proper Dreadwolf news very, very soon, which is to include the release date, gameplay and hopefully some proper details on the story. While we have no official statement on when we are to expect this news, some leaks have indicated we could see Dreadwolf and have all of our questions answered at the Summer Game Fest on June 7th, or the Xbox Showcase on June 9th. With the Xbox Showcase being the most likely, as an article detailing the showcase stated it would be showing off a gameplay debut that would bring solace to one weary fanbase from a third-party studio. And that is an interesting choice of the word solace there. These rumours of Dreadwolf's reveal happening soon seem to have some truth to them, since only in the last few days we've got even more Dreadwolf news and leaks. Firstly, Dreadwolf has appeared on both the PlayStation and Xbox storefronts. While these posts on the storefronts don't give us any new news, videos or screenshots, we did get this new description. Welcome to Dragon Age Dreadwolf. Enter the world of Thedas, a vibrant land of rugged wilderness, treacherous labyrinths and glittering cities, steeped in savage combat and secret magics. Now the fate of this world teeters on a knife edge. Thedas needs a new leader, one they'll never see coming. You'll forge courageous fellowships to challenge the gathering storm. Friendship, drama and romance will abound as you bring striking individuals together into an extraordinary team. Become the leader and light the beacon of hope in their darkest moments. This statement doesn't really give us much to go on, it's just a variation on what we've heard in the past and what we've heard from previous Dragon Age games, but it's still something. And the second news was that EA released a list of games scheduled to come out before March 2025. with one of them being an unnamed internal IP. Jeff Grubb took no time to confirm that this is Dragon Age Dreadwolf, and with Grubb's track record, I think this is a safe bet. Now, this list unfortunately doesn't provide a specific date, month, or even a financial quarter, but this is still a short amount of time really, especially after the amount of time we've already waited. Personally, I think we will see Dreadwolf at the end of this year, as a holiday release would make a lot of sense, and it would be the 10-year anniversary of Dragon Age Inquisition. And that is the development history of Dragon Age Dreadwolf from 2015 to 2024, and it is safe to say it has not been an easy development. Reboots, team restructuring, resignations, new team members, single player to multiplayer live service to single player again, and a slew of layoffs. It feels like a miracle that Dreadwolf will ever come out. And honestly, this video feels like an abridged version of this story. I've definitely glossed over some stuff or barely focused on others, so I recommend you check out some articles and other videos detailing the making of Dreadwolf. I suppose a big question to ask is what kind of effect this development period will have on Dragon Age Dreadwolf. Will it be like Origins, which did have a difficult development period and faced very similar problems, but is still considered the best game in the series by many? Or could we have another Anthem-like experience, because that could spell the end for Bioware? I suppose we won't know until we finally get to return to Thedas.